Hi again, everybody. This video is sponsored by contribution from Mandrake, and here's his story. Ollie, this will be the second part to what has been about a year of self-discovery. You read a letter for me about a year ago, something I could not speak for myself. I've been in and out of a psychologist, psychiatrist, and therapist office my whole life, starting around 17, which makes that 15 years now. Within that scope, the focus was always on me, and I think that's a fair view. After all, it is I who these doctors and therapists are trying to make well. They cannot erase my childhood. They cannot give me a loving family. I present as their parent, and that I present as their parent, and that is their function to help me get well. I'd like to offer that out there for people to understand their fight to find health again. Forgive me if I bounce around here. I see parallels to what I am going through, to what my uncle Jack went through, who is a high up Otuska Pharmaceuticals at a who was high up at Otuska Pharmaceuticals in Japan for 20 years. Some people might wonder why I say that he pulled in 175K American a year and mention his metropolitan Tokyo lifestyle. They did not know my uncle, who died a miserable drunk of liver failure, who was disgraced and sent back to America to be with his family, quietly to protect his dignity. Meanwhile, people don't know why when I speak of my uncle, I portray the great life he had for a while on the outside, but was dying on the inside, and died telling me all screwed up shit he went through, which caused him to learn Japanese on audio tapes and leave the country at 20. Basically, I see myself in metacognition traveling down a parallel path until the last thing my uncle said was that I was the only one who understood him. Without further ado, things were okay until around 5 years old when my mother brought home the first man, Bear. He was an ex-con into the metaphysical, and built like a brick shithouse. I remember hiding behind my mother's legs and clutching her in fear when I first saw him. He seemed nice at first. Something I dealt with as a child was night terrors. The first time he beat me was when I woke up crying, pounding on my mother's door. We were well-to-do. There were double doors to a two-story master room. Bear called back down. She's busy. I pretty much know what's up, and I think you do too. With the sailor's mouth I got from his being around, I yelled back in my squeaky voice, "Fuck you, bitch." The thud of his feet down my mother's spiral staircase was honestly the first time I felt afraid of another person. I remember running into my room, curling up on the bed and waiting for the inevitable, like ice water had been poured upon me. The door swung open, he let loose, open-handed. He'd have pulverized me otherwise, a spanking at the end, and that's when I first started to recluse in my room. This would happen on different occasions as I would adapt and modify my conduct to avoid such situations. I remember on one trip to the neighbor's cabin, a big old fucking spider was on the ceiling above me. I yelled out for my mom, but there was Bear, screaming back from the deck, "Shut the fuck up, you piece of shit." I remember falling asleep, staring at that big ass wolf spider on the ceiling above my bed, paralyzed. Thoughts of it falling down on me. I must have been around 8. Things got weirder. Like aforementioned, my mother and Bear were into the metaphysical. Let me tell you about Jabbar. Jabbar was a being of energy from an alternate dimension that spoke to my mother, and this, what I now know to be a cult woman surrounding one person, Lauren. Not sure how that worked out with Bear, but I'll tell you, the meetings were all women and just Lauren. Lauren is a man, let me specify, given the androgynous name. It wasn't it wasn't far after, probably 9ish, 10ish, I swear earlier, because I didn't know what sex was. All these women encircled Lauren in this room. He was knelt down on one knee, crying over a sword. Yeah, like a fucking Dungeons and Dragons fucking sword. All these women were emotional too. I remember being with his son Sean standing in the doorway, and Lauren said, "Jabbar gave me this sword." Sean jokingly said, "Don't cry, Daddy." We laughed and went off to his room to play. Let me remind you, I was 9 or 10. That's when I got molested the first time. Sean and I were roughhousing, and he said, "Let's do it with our clothes off." I didn't know better. Honestly, dude, I didn't know what exactly that was until Sean's birthday party, when another girl came up and said, "Sean said you had sex with him." I knew the word sex. I made my mother take me home. I never went there again. And it was one of the first times my mother did something to help me. I couldn't tell her, but she was too stupid to figure it out anyway. They broke up, whatever. Bear apologized to me before he died. Gifted me a staff he carved, blah, blah, blah. Mom lost the fucking staff, of course. Fast forward. Mom meets Jim. Jim seems like a stand-up guy. I remember coming home one day from 5th grade and all my clothes were laid out on the bed. That's how I found out I was changing school. I was again changing schools, and that we were moving in with Jim. My 2 older brothers, 10 years older than I, went off to college. I got to live with Jim and Mom. Wasn't long before that got fucking weird. I awoke some ungodly hour of the night, hearing country western playing on the stereo system. I was confused. I left my room to the kitchen. All the lights were dimmed. I heard my mother screaming and freaking out, and ran down the hall to their room, which mine was right across the hall from, and shared a wall with. Jim must have been laying some serious pipe, man, because that night I tried to fall asleep listening to my own mother, getting railed like a hooker in the very next room. Oh, I know what that's like. Not railed like a hooker. Well, a hooker on a 3-second tryst, but you get the picture. I remember watching the ceiling fan going round and round. I even remember a made-up jingle I sang to myself trying to drown it out. All I want for Christmas is my mother back. Jim the fuck off, my brother's back. So it must have been around December. That morning, after failing to fall asleep, it was a Friday now that I think, and Saturday morning cartoons were on. I blared my TV loudly. I can't remember if in protest or if because I tried to drown out the after-sex talk that I could hear plain as day. Those motherfuckers came pounding on my door and told me to turn it down. I've been parenting my own ass for as long as I can remember. I yelled back, maybe if I wasn't up all night. I'm smiling writing this because I remember Jim's eyes getting real big as he walked by. That got me the reward of being shipped off to my grandmother's every weekend. I won't even bother. My grandmother is fucking feeble and crazy as hell. That'd be 50 pages to go there. Then we moved in with Jim's father, Whitey, seeing a theme of people with stupid fucking names here. Now that I've thoroughly viewed my own mother as a whore, I was physically afraid of other men. All that's left to do is break my mind, right? Every day this asshole. Every day I'd come home from 7th, 8th, and into high school, he'd be sitting at the kitchen island by the front door. Every day he'd look at me and scoff, shaking his head. This is when I began to starve. He would stare daggers at me at the dinner table. It got so bad I didn't want to eat at the table anymore. I even began to twitch when other kids' shoe would scuff the concrete, making a similar titch sound. I was told I did not get to eat if I did not not eat at the table, so I went hungry. Eventually I learned to sleep after school, come out at night and raid the fridge. Eventually I found liquor. This is how I also learned how to brute force hack. See with a 4-digit combo and 9 digits each. It's just count from 0000 001 and so on. That's how I unlocked all the adult channels on the TV, and this is when shit really started hitting the fan for me. I was starved. I was tall and slender, attractive. Girls threw themselves at me. But with such low esteem and confidence, I was twisted and malformed shadow of a boy. I got my heart broken real easy. I ran away, began to sling meth. 6 months later, I got hooked on my product. Man, it's been a ride since. I got a great career, making good money. I pulled myself out of that. Unfortunately, this catharsis about my family of origin is only recent. I only thought it was my ex-wife that was fucked. Turns out, yeah, she's fucked. Yet everything around me is fucked. I'm struggling again, struggling with the drink, struggling with reconciling why I was dealt this hand. Immediately, I think of things like so many who have to fight to survive. This is all going down now, having been a year of therapy and 7 months of aggressive treatment for depression. My corporation is very understanding, and luckily I'm good at what I do. The catharsis I'm going through stems mostly from coming to an age where I can honestly think how I would treat my children. That puts my childhood in a very stark, dark perspective. You might remember my story as of now. He'd be lying. I'd be lying if I said recent events haven't caused me to re-examine my childhood. I even fought with my own mother at the prospect of having a bad childhood. Of course, God forbid that chestnut come open. Maybe you can link it. Maybe you can link it in the description. I don't care if the minority people know my identity. You don't. You don't gotta read that or the rest of this. Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, I don't need to read the rest of that. Look, man, I know you personally a little bit, and you're a good dude. Okay? It didn't just start with your ex-wife. You know, I know what you went through with her. I know the shit she put you through. It sounds very similar to what you were growing up with anyway. It's great that, you're dealing with your ex-wife and you got away from that and you're dealing with that, a lot of issues there. But again, this is another case of, okay, you eliminated the narcissist in front of you. But again, you got to get down to the root cause. You got to go back to where you were broken. And that's what you're doing here. You're going back to those moments where you were broken, the moments that you were changed forever. There is no why. There is no why. It sucks. And that's what drives this fucking insane. Why did this have to happen to me? Why did I have to get dealt this set of cards? Why? It just is. They're damaged people. They're damaged people, and I think you accept that now. You cannot get hung up on the why, as damaging as it is. The why is going to drive you crazy. Oh, there's also an addendum to this that I forgot to read. I know. Forgot one piece of the puzzle per se. No worries if you're already done and dusted. Addendum being big reason I began digging around about my mother. I learned how to navigate the legal system. Come to find out, my mother went by a completely different name during the cult days. Found out she pocketed a settlement kept in probate. Forging shit. It was supposed to go to me at 18. Shady as fuck. That money would have helped with college. Anyways, yeah. Thanks again. You have been used and abused since your childhood. Your mother cared, again, more about dick and attention and money than her own son. You're at the point where you're discovering where you were broken. And I know it's going to drive you insane. I know it is. And you got driven to alcohol at a young age, and that's a tough vice. Like, I don't know personally, I've never done a hard drug, and I hate alcohol. But I've seen what it does to people's lives. I've seen it. even with what happened to you with your friend, and a lot of you might not know, and I'm not, it's the same pattern because you're bringing the same people into your life from your childhood. This is where you need to be. Understand where you need to be focusing on and working when you're trying to get over narcissistic abuse. You're past the wife. The wife was, your ex-wife was the impediment in front of you right there. You were dealing with it. She's gone. You're going to have to deal with issues going forward. You don't have any kids, but your next step in your progression is getting back to where you're broken. I think this is natural. You have ups and downs. We have highs and lows. I have them all the time. Understand the highs and lows you're feeling are part of the natural progression as you work through this muck and this mud, and you get back down to the root core, and you're dealing with that, and you're dealing with the new frustrations and thoughts and the whys. And that's not, and you feel like you're spinning out of control, but you're tempted with the booze and maybe some other stuff. It's the natural progression of recovering from narcissistic abuse. You're doing the right thing by continuing to go back and analyze your past. So thank you for your contribution, man. I really appreciate it. And thank you again for your story and all your support. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a narcissist you'd like to expose or a topic you'd like me to cover, you know what to do with my PayPal and the email links in the description box. I'll have the video right back to you. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon. Bye.